The desire to remove suffering causes suffering. And I know that sounds like a very paradoxical statement or like a very confusing statement. Like, how can like I have a desire to remove suffering. So if I have the desire to remove suffering, then how does that in turn cause suffering? Well, the answer that lies in the intention behind as to why you wish to remove suffering. If you wish to remove suffering simply because you do not like suffering, simply because you do not wish to suffer, well, then that's a very justifiable, very understandable sentiment. However, the thing is, in life, pain and suffering does exist. No matter who you are, you will experience pain. So, what happens is when you try to create this mental, in a sense, mental loophole, mental hurdle, where you create this desire, where you try to remove suffering in order to not experience that suffering in the first place. Well, what you're doing is you're basically escaping reality. And once you escape reality, well, then what then happens is you basically cannot live a fulfilling life. Because if you have been on the path of spirituality for a very long time, then chances are you got into this path because you wanted to remove your suffering, right? And you got into meditation, you got into prayer, you got into all of these fancy little things, and you tried to dissolve your ego, and you had like a awakening experience. You saw you know in a sense you saw the true nature of reality. You caught a glimpse of it, right? And you're like, wow, I saw the true nature of reality. I know who I am now. I know all of that. It's so awesome. It's this and that and that. And that's wonderful. I'm not discouraging that. I'm not putting that down at all. But rather, what I am saying is that there comes a point in everyone's path, right, where eventually their desire to remove suffering is what would eventually cause their suffering. Because in my experience, I've been in this path for so long, right? I tried so many different ways to dissolve my ego, do this and that, to no longer have an identity, to basically be one with everything. And it did work. It helped me understand my true nature. Basically, when I'm in meditation, when I'm meditating, I'm basically, in a sense, quote unquote, one with everything. I'm seeing reality, I'm present, whatever you want to say. But the thing is, at a certain point, what happens is most people create a mental schematic where they their desire to remove suffering is becomes like a procrastinatory and a uh, avoidance mechanism to actually avoid pain. That's it. It just becomes an avoidance mechanism to avoid the truth of the to avoid the pains of reality. And the thing is, reality is painful. Because if reality consists of everything, then pain and suffering would also be consistent within it. So you must learn to deal with suffering. You must learn to accept it. So at some point, whether it's today, now, tomorrow, yesterday, I don't care, whatever, right? It can't be yesterday, but you get what I'm saying. Whatever it is, you will eventually have to remove your desire to remove, in a sense, suffering. And you just have to be, right? Whether you suffer or whether you are in pain, whether you are happy or whether you are not so happy, you will just accept it and you just go on with your life. That's it. And at that point, what happens once you reach that point, meditation, in a sense, lose its importance, right? Meditation, spiritual practice, be reality, like your true nature, it loses its importance. I'm not saying it doesn't like it's not I'm not saying it becomes unimportant. Like it is still important, but you no longer put them like on top of a pedestal, right? They just, in a sense, the way you perceive them becomes drastically different. It's like it's like your hand, right? Your hand is very important, right? But the hand is not everything about you, right? Just because you lose one hand doesn't mean you lose the other hand or your legs, right? You still have your hand and leg even if you lose one hand. right? But that's not to say that this hand is not special. This hand is very special, right? Just like how my legs are special. Without my legs, I cannot walk. And without my hands, I cannot do the things that like writing or driving or stuff like that. And that's exactly what meditation and, quote unquote enlightened reality that is, right? They all have their own special place, but they're not everything. That's what you must learn. That's what I had to learn the hard way. I was stuck in a rut for almost 2 years, and it took me 2 years to learn that. You must give up. And the way you do this is by giving up your desire to remove suffering. Once you do that, what happens? You accept suffering. And that's the hardest part. Once you accept suffering, guess what happens? You give yourself full freedom to suffer. And that is one of the most freeing feelings you can feel. Because at the start of the journey, you were afraid to suffer. You did not have the confidence. You did not want to feel the pain. But then at the end of your journey, well, there's never an end to this journey. But basically, after a lot of advancement, once you understand your true nature, you allow yourself to suffer. Suffering no longer, in a sense, inhibits you. You can still suffer and move on. Imagine who's more stronger, someone who always tries to remove their suffering, or someone who plentifully suffers and still keeps on going, but with every time that they suffer, they become stronger and better, and they become more in tune with their nature. I'd much rather be the latter, right, than someone who always just tries to remove their suffering. Because what happens is the mind is very clever, right? It's very clever. It will somehow make that desire to remove your suffering an avoidance mechanism. That's it. It will become a belief structure. It will become a mechanism. It will become something like that. And my camera has been just blah blah blah, blah right? But yeah, basically, yeah, that's all I really want to say. If you have the desire to remove suffering, then that's fine. Everyone has that. Even I have that, right? It's just that you must learn to realize that that desire is not always correct. And eventually, in certain times and certain periods, you will have to completely get rid of it, and it's completely fine to suffer. There's nothing wrong with suffering, because at the end of the day, you're still a human being, man. Yes, I understand, we all have this true nature. We have this true reality within us. But at the end of the day, we are here to live as human beings. We are here to live in this illusion. So live in that illusion while knowing about this reality. Do both. That's why the yin and yang, it has the black is there in the white and the white is there in the black. It's the integration of them. You need to integrate them. That is how you properly live as a human, right? That's why they say before enlightenment, you chop wood and touch grass. And then after enlightenment, you chop wood and touch grass. Nothing changes. It's just that you learn to integrate it better. Like in the most simple way possible, before you get on this part of spirituality, what's happening with most people is that most people believe that they know who they are, but the thing is they don't know who they are. They know their illusory self, right? They know a fake version of themselves. They don't know the true reality of it, right? So they believe a lie. But then after they understand the true nature of reality, what happens is they fully understand what the true nature is. And then on the final stage, what happens is they learn to integrate it. So basically, they learn how to integrate the fakeness into the reality, basically the yin and yang. They learn to just basically be in that illusion in a very fulfilling manner. It's like lucid dreaming, basically. So yeah, if you found this video helpful, then thank you. Thank you for watching until so far, and I didn't really. It's getting late, so I had to rush the video, and I'm so tired. But I had to pump this video out somehow. But yeah, bye, 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 bye.